Uh-oh, you know what that sound means. It means it's lunch talk time.
Welcome to the all-new Lunch Talk Show with Mike and Starr Carter.
This show will discuss relationship, family, celebrity news, and much, much more.
So stay tuned, because you never know what the Lunch Talk crew is serving up every Friday. What's up, Lunch Talk family? We are back with an all-new Lunch Talk with Mike and Starr. So how you doing today, Mr. Carter?
What's up, Lunch Talk family? Oh, doing pretty good. Can't complain.
That's what's up. So we are into another weekend in the new month of January that's about to be out already.
Yep, February is right around the corner.
Right.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. We always say it, guys. Almost every show, time is rolling, guys. Time is rolling. So
definitely rolling.
Yeah, so we try to tell you, stop the foolishness.
Stop the foolishness.
Stop the foolishness.
If you got something you need to get done, time ain't waiting on you to get done. So you got to just keep on rolling. So, if y'all are new to the show, we appreciate you for tuning in to me and my wonderful husband. We do a show called Lunch Talk. It was Lunch Talk with the Carters, so we know we got another famous Carter that we cannot compete with when it comes to their dollars.
Oh, no.
So we ain't trying to get sued.
Exactly. So, you know.
So it's just Mike and Starr, but we still another set of the Carters that's out there. And maybe one day we'll get that kind of money too.
I know, right?
So if you are new to the show, we do what we call a appetizer part of our lunch talk. And that is the interesting tidbit that my husband does. So what you got for us today, babe?
Well, interesting tidbit today is geographically done. And it goes by race as well. It's just coinciding with our main topic of the day, you know, but I'll let you tell them about the main topic of the day, but it just coincides with the main topic of the day. Mm-hmm. Okay. I bet you guys didn't know, in the United States of America, now I don't know about other countries. The research I did was just for us over here. Did you know that over 70% of all marriages end in divorce? Whether it's from domestic violence to adultery or just unreconcilable differences, over 70% of all marriages end in divorce. And my question is this: why? I mean, in America, why?
Did it say if there was a different set of race that led that amount?
Yes, it was. I hate to say it again. You know, I've always said this, our people. It's our people. The higher percent people of color.
Y'all
yeah.
don't know how we
okay, my bad. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, our people, you know, what, you know, the United States calls us African American or whatever. But yes, people of color. Okay, the divorce rate is higher. It's 70% overall, but in the black what they call African American community, the rate is even higher. So mostly in our race, all marriages end in divorce, like the study said, due to physical abuse, due to unreconcilable differences, or due to some things like that. Adultery. That's what this case study showed, and it's amazing to me that in our race it's more prevalent. And I, you know, I don't understand that. I'm gonna have to do my further research, guys. But that's the point that I just wanted to bring out to let you see that how high it is. And I was just wondering why. Mm-hmm. You know, why? Like I said, I should have did my due diligence and, you know, continued further to find out why. But I just thought that was, you know, utterly amazing. A lot of people may not know that. You know, they might think it's the Caucasian race or whatever race. No, it's right here at home in the black community. Overall 70%, but in our community it's a much higher rate than the other, you know, races.
If I had to take a stab at it, you know, just to answer your question, I would say because around the turn of the 80s, when crack and a lot of the different drugs were introduced into the homes, a lot of homes became broken. And then that's when the single parent rate went up, you know. And I hate to say this, but a lot of our black men, they stopped taking care of their kids. They decided that they wanted to do their thing. And, you know, a lot of times mom got left with the bag. And there was a lot, and still is, a lot of broken homes. And if you did get married, you know, like you said, 9 times out of 10, there were domestic violence in the home, there were adultery in the home. And I'm not saying it just was done to the women. I'm just saying that that's probably, if I had to guess, that I would say that that's what started. Because you think about it, a lot of the people, like your aunt and your uncle, for instance, that's been married for what,
forever,
30 years,
yeah, forever, yeah.
So that means that they got married pre the 80s.
Yeah. Oh yeah, way pre the 80s.
Yeah. And I feel like most of the marriages that make it to hit the 30 and 40 year mark, they was married before the time where men still valued family. Whether they cut out or whatever, they
took care of their responsibility.
They took care of their home.
I got you.
They didn't leave home.
Yeah, I got you.
And a lot of women, of course, there was domestic violence back then. Back then, they can knock the hell out you and then you had to worry about going to jail. Right? That's what I'm saying. I mean, because women's rights back then was really, really like whatever, prior to them realizing how bad it is. And that's what the main dish is about today. The main dish is about domestic violence. This is more like of a domestic awareness type of show. But back to that's what I'm saying. I feel like, to me personally, I feel like once crack had got introduced into our black neighborhoods, and I ain't gonna get real political, but I know you out there that you do your research.
What's up.
You'll know how the drugs got into our black communities from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? From the beginning, from the start. Do your research on that. Like, I'm not going to get real into it about how it got now, but just do your research. You'll find out how it got into our communities. And I feel like it was deliberately put into our community to tear us down. I mean, if you do your research, you'll find out that we had Black Wall Street first.
You know what happened to that?
That's what I'm saying.
You know what happened to Black Wall Street.
We at first, and a lot of people don't realize this, as people of color, we were not always poor. We were not always living in ghettos. We was not always living in subsidized housing, what they call it, hood housing, whatever else you want to call it, that they so-called gave to us so that we can have a way of life. We had our own way of life, and we got ran out of it, basically. Yeah, I mean, just to put it lightly. And I feel like that started it. I feel like when they put the drugs into our neighborhoods, that started it. And also certain jobs was not available to certain people,
So it's a combination of a lot of things. From
education.
It comes from, like what you're saying is like, it comes from, just society in general, why divorce rate is so high among our people, because we've been deprived for so long, basically. Yeah. We've been deprived of education. We've been deprived of, trying to stand on our own, and then they start implementing other things, like you said, about the drugs and all of that. So basically, I mean, I agree with you. It's basically society, that, if you are in what they call the American dream, the home with the white picket fence. I mean, yeah, you have no issues. You
got 2.5
and a dog.
Children,
yeah, you got a dog and all that wonderful stuff. You got no struggles. You got no trials and tribulations. So therefore, you have no issues of violence, of arguments, or blah 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 that may escalate to violence or whatever. I mean, not violence. I'm talking about the main dish. But anyway, why it may end in divorce, because it's stressful when you're struggling trying to make it. You see, yeah. So I agree with that in all society.
That's just like when we were looking at Good Times the other day. I said, I don't understand why they called it Good Times, because they did not have any good times. But look at the time period. Even though Florida and James and their kids were struggling, look at the family demographic. That's right after that. That's when the crack and all that was introduced into our communities. That's when, they had already heroin and all that other stuff was already out there. But I really do feel like that's when it really just went haywire. That's just my take on it, because you had people taking a paycheck instead of taking care of the house. They was going out buying crack with it. People, the kids was having to steal to feed themselves, and it was just, the family demographic was just broke completely down.
Okay, got you. So, guys, that's it right there. Okay. Hit us up. This was our appetizer dish. Interesting little tidbit. Why is it that divorce rates in all races is average on 70%, but why is it a higher percent in the so-called African American community? Hit us up at lunchtalkshow@gmail.com. And hit us up and, give us your intake on it. We think it's society. She made a lot of valid points. Society, the struggles of everyday life. Hey, that could contribute to a lot of divorce because it's stressful. It's stressful.
Why it's still high in 2020, considering that we do still have some same struggles, but not the same struggles I feel like that started it. Why is it still that now in 2020? That would be a really good question. Why? Because we can't say it's because of lack of education, because now, we can go to the really good schools too. We can get the good jobs too. We can be doctors, we can be lawyers, we can be everything that we want to be other than an athlete. A lot of times they feel like we can't be nothing unless we're an athlete or a rapper. So we can have great jobs and have, as they call it, the quote unquote American dream too. So why is it still an issue in our community now in this new decade in 2020? Why is it still a problem?
Okay. All right, guys. Yes, hit us up. That's the appetizer for today.
lunchtalkshow@gmail.com. We'd like to hear from you. So for the soup and the salad, not really much going on other than, all the playoffs going on with the playoffs is over now. We know who's going to the Super Bowl. Sad that Baltimore got put out. My team. But it's going to be interesting. February the 2nd, the Chiefs and the 49ers. So who do you got for this game? Who you got to win?
Well, I got the Chiefs. I'm with the home all the way. Nothing against the 49ers because my boys didn't even make it to the playoffs. So, but personally, I wanted Baltimore to go too. That was my second choice. But since they can't go, I like another little young rookie that's up and coming and he's doing his thing, the home. So, hey, go Chiefs.
There go Chiefs. All right. I would like to see, young black guy. That would be very interesting. That's going to be a very interesting Super Bowl. So I'm very, very excited to see it.
It's going to be a good one. Kansas City, both teams are great.
They both great. They
great
both
teams.
Deserve to be there.
Yeah, they are great teams.
They actually played really well this whole season. So they deserve to be there. If anybody deserve to be there, they deserve to be there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, then. So, guys, we already, hinted on what the main dish topic is going to be today. We're going to talk about domestic violence and domestic violence awareness. We told y'all in the show, we didn't do a show last week because I was under the weather, but the show before that, I told you guys what my goal was for Lunch Talk was to have some serious conversations in 2020. We touched on a lot of different stuff over these last 2 years of doing Lunch Talk, but we have not really touched on some of the more sensitive issues, and my husband really felt me on that. So he decided that he wanted us to have this conversation to start off. We kicking it off first month, January. And this is a very deep conversation. If you all have ever experienced domestic violence, and if it's something that you can't listen to or you're not ready to face it, I truly understand. But I hope that you continue to listen to us because we got a lot to talk about with this. So give us a second. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks. All right, so we are back. And again, if you are new tuning into the show, if your podcast app that you listen to does not support ads, whenever we do the 20 second or 2 or 3 second break, it might be just silent for you all, but that don't mean we're not coming back. It might be silent. So I'm just throwing that out there just to let you know, not all podcast platforms support the ads. So just in case, if you're on YouTube, you're not going to hear an ad. If you're on It's some new one that I ran up on. I can't even think of it. But anyway, you won't hear it. I think it's Bullhorn or somebody. You won't hear it. Okay? So, how do you want to kick it off, babe?
Well, guys, as you know that we told you guys that what we were going to do for this show is domestic violence, and we want to do domestic violence in a relationship. Okay, married or, boyfriend and girlfriend, what we call it, boyfriend and girlfriend. Really what made me want to do this show is, I got a personal experience with it, with my wife, not me and my wife, but I'm just saying with my wife, my mom, two ladies that I love dearly, experienced this. And, I wanted them, my wife, in general, to bring some clarity, bring some, information to the forefront, because it could help a lot of ladies out there that's going through this. And another reason, because this past week in my hometown, we had a domestic violence case in a public place, in a public restaurant. I'm not going to give names or anything like that, but the restaurant was a popular place in my hometown, Applebee's. A young couple in their early 20s, people, early 20s. Okay. I don't know the full story. I don't want to get into that. It's just about, because, it's still under litigation, and, I'm not finna get legal into this, but the actual, scoop of it is, they were separated, had a couple of issues. Okay. And the young lady went to Applebee's to have a regular meal. The guy was evidently upset, distraught in some type of way about what happened between those two. He decides to go to a public place, confront this young lady in their early 20s. They had a confrontation in Applebee's, pulls out a gun, shoots her twice in the chest. Did you guys hear that? Early 20s. Shot this young lady twice in her chest in a public place around tens of hundreds of people. I don't know the capacity of Applebee's, but I'm just saying tens of hundreds of people. This guy opened fires on this young lady, shoots her twice in the chest.
That's sad.
That's the reasons why we need to bring awareness to domestic violence. I want to get to the cause of this. Because it's ridiculous, it's stupid. I just don't understand. Domestic violence. It doesn't matter, male, female. Even man on man. It is what it is in today's society. Domestic violence. Someone you say you love. I'm pretty sure this guy told this young lady he loved her once upon a time in a relationship. But
what's crazy?
You got the audacity to try to cause harm to these people. So much as putting 2 bullets in their chest. That's the reason why, we want to bring awareness to domestic violence on the show today.
I'm telling you what's really crazy. This guy right here, I read the article on this, because I don't listen to the news and I really don't get on Facebook. Facebook is really like the news. So I really don't get on it. But when you told me about it just a day or so ago, I had read the article on our local newspaper. And this guy is only 23 years old, like you said, early 20s. And he had already, in 2018, had been charged with second-degree domestic violence. So this ain't his first rodeo. He was in a 26-week treatment program for batterers. And he had just completed 22 weeks when he did this, of the 26 weeks. So that means he had 6 months of this batterer treatment, because he had already had second-degree domestic violence charge against him in 2018. So he was doing his 6 months of batterer treatment. He had only completed 22 weeks of it when he shot this girl inside of Applebee's. And they have a 4-year-old son together. And this is her ex. They not even in a relationship anymore. This is her ex. This is her ex. She went out to have a simple dinner, like my husband said, with some friends, and ended up with 2 bullets in her chest. Thank God she did not die.
That was a blessing. When I heard that, I was so happy.
She did not die.
I was so happy.
Actually, She was released from the hospital this past Tuesday.
Oh, awesome, man. That is great. Kudos, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Most High is good. She didn't deserve it. I mean, I don't know what went
And it
through.
was on a Friday night when it happened. So last Friday night, the bullets are still in her. It left her with a broken rib, and fragments of the bullets are stuck in her chest, and she has a bullet in her hip. Doctors told her removing them might cause more damage, while leaving them didn't pose any risk.
That's crazy because I mean, when those bullets break down or dissolve and probably infect her bloodstream or something,
you know, like my brother still got 3 in him.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess
yeah,
not then.
yeah.
You know, I guess
And
it breaks down and just comes
20
straight out.
That's like over 20 something years ago because he had the same thing, but not, you know, my brother wasn't in no domestic. So let's get back on the subject. But yeah, you can live with him inside of you.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, just back on the subject. This guy obviously has more going on than I would say jealousy. I think jealousy is times 1,000 when you go into the point of shooting somebody. You mental. Something's mentally wrong with you.
Okay.
You know,
I would say that, period. I would say that, period, you know, because at that point in time, I mean, if you're that enraged to actually want to take someone's life, because that's what I call it. I mean, God, you know, blessing that she didn't. But if you want to shoot somebody 2 times in the chest, I mean, you want them dead. You want them gone. And when you get to the point of that type of rage, I think your mind goes to another level. I mean, you're not, wow. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. She's just showing me the picture of this guy.
And that's the boy holding and hugging his mama, the
4-year-old. Man, look, man. That's you know, when you showed me that picture, that really touched me because this little man is in there hugging his mom. 2 bullets in her chest, could have been dead because of a guy that I started to say another word, but I didn't want to offend anybody. But because this guy calls himself, I guess, he didn't say that, guys, so don't quote me on that. This is me saying this, that, oh, I'm the man now. I done shot a woman. Wow, bra freaking oh. You done shot a woman in the chest. Wow. Oh, you a big man now. Oh, yeah, you got all kind of street cred now. You know, I would tell you what you look like, but like I said, I didn't want to use that word because I may offend some of our listeners.
My husband said, you know, that he wanted to talk about this because after him seeing, or hearing about, this case that happened here in our hometown that actually warranted him to want to have this conversation. And I'm gonna be very candid with you all. I went through it. He, as my husband stated, not with him, with my first husband. That was my first experience with domestic violence. And he asked me, did I want to talk about it? Did I feel comfortable talking about my experience? And yes, I do. Because talking about it is also a healing process. It helps you get things out on the table that you may not even realize that you still are dealing with. So I feel like talking is a great way of dealing with some of these issues. Now, I have been out of this relationship for 6 years. Now, I've been out of this relationship for 6 years. Me and Mike have been married going on 3 years. So when me and Mike first, got together in 2016, I had only been out of that situation for like maybe 2 years, like two full years, maybe 2 years and a half. So it was still kind of fresh when me and Mike first got together. I was really nervous, not with Mike, but just with dating, period. Because you never know who you can trust after you've gone through that. Your trust is very minimal. And even though I knew Mike for over half of my life at that point, that didn't still make me fearful, because of my trust. And I know who Mike is. I know Mike is not that type of person, but I never would have thought my ex was that type of person either. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have married him if I had a thought that that's the type of person that he would have became.
Got you.
So,
well, okay, and that's a valid point. That's a valid point. So that's why I wanted to really do this show, because, like I said, I've experienced it at a young age. Like I said, not me personally, but my mom, she experienced it, and so me at a young age, I experienced it, and now I'm married, and my wife has experienced it. So, and then the story that came up, it really touched me in a very big way, because from way back then, I'm in my 40s. From way back then to now, that's over 40 years. And things hasn't gotten better. It's getting worse. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. It's getting worse. So we just want to do our part, our due diligence, and just come to you guys and just bring some awareness. And I asked my wife, was she comfortable in doing the show? She said yes. So that's why, we're going to target pretty much her. We're going to pick her brain today. So we're going to try to give you ladies some sorts of advice. Guys, listen to us. We're not trying to be experts, because we're not. Knowledge is a fool can gain knowledge, but a wise man gains wisdom. Wisdom comes with trials and tribulations. Knowledge, you can go to college to get knowledge. Okay, we're trying to give you guys wisdom. Okay, stuff that we've been through. We told you Lunch Talk don't talk about nothing that we haven't been through personally. That's how we know that this stuff happens, and we know we may be a little funny with it or whatever, but things we talk about, real things that we know we've been through, we experienced. Which one you rather do? Talk to somebody who has experienced what you experienced, or you want to talk to somebody who just got a little knowledge of what you experienced? I would want to talk to somebody who experienced it and how did they deal with it. And that's us. That's what Lunch Talk is about. So that's what I want to do today. We're going to talk to my lovely wife, and we're just going to get some inside information about somebody who firsthand experienced this stuff, not hearsay, experienced it. And maybe we could give you ladies, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of information that you may have, never thought about or didn't know. So, okay, go ahead.
Did you want to ask me questions?
Yeah, that's what I was just finna tell you. Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you. So we were just going to kick things off, just going to ask her a few questions and, how she dealt with certain things. So, the first thing, I've always wondered, and a lot of ladies out there probably say the same thing. In the beginning, honey, honestly, how was the relationship in the beginning? Just when you guys was courting or dating or whatever, how was the relationship?
In the beginning, it was like it was a whirlwind type of relationship, because when I talked to him, well, let me back up a little bit. My best friend introduced me to him, and he was like, after him knowing him for at least a year, he knew him as a really good guy. He was single, and of course, I was single. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, Starr, I want you to meet, I ain't gonna call his name.
Just such and such, yeah.
I'm just gonna call him Joe Smo. I want you to meet Joe Smo, because I really think y'all would be a great fit for each other. He's kind of like you, he like to have a good time, like to have a few drinks, smoke a little tree or whatever, and, just real, really cool cat. And I said, okay, I was down to meet him. So I met him, and we hit it off. We clicked. Mm-hmm. He was really good cat, very nice, very mannerable, just seemed like he had just not really fully had moved to Greenwood. He was kind of in between cities, between Lawrence and Greenwood, but he was like living with his brother, but he was, I guess, trying to get his own spot or whatever. And so it was one of those type of things, and we started spending some time together, going out on a date or whatever, hanging out at friends, going to parties and stuff like that. And that probably went on for about a good 2 or 3 months. Okay. And
okay. No, go ahead.
And
thought you were done.
Yeah, it went on for about a good 2 or 3 months before he asked me to marry him. And I bet y'all like, really, Starr? You got engaged to somebody after only knowing 2 to 3 months? Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. And so, yeah, me at the time, I was 35, I think. Mm-hmm. So, 34, 35, somewhere in there. And yeah, I was like, shoot, I don't know if I'm gonna get this opportunity again. I mean, and I'm gonna be real with y'all, I really did feel like that. I wouldn't say it was out of desperation, but I felt like what some women go through as they biological clock ticking or whatever, not saying that I wanted a child with him, but I felt like I was really getting old and not being married.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand that. That's a fairly. I think a lot of ladies would say that. But okay, with that, a little to me, I'm not a lady, so I don't know. But to me, with the guy asking you that soon in relationship, did that throw up a red flag in any kind of way?
No.
Asking that early, because I can't pretty much say that that's not just preposterous, because I was engaged in only like 6 months, so it was the same thing. But I'm just saying, did that throw up like a red flag or anything that triggered, or you just thought everything was just going accordingly?
No, it didn't. It really didn't throw up any red flags. I'm a hopeless romantic, and so I mean, my best friend parents got married after only knowing each other for 2 weeks, and they wound up being married for 60 years.
Okay.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, it happens. Like I said,
really
it's not totally
happen.
preposterous. It's not totally preposterous.
I'm not going to say
happens.
it was a love at first sight type of thing, but if he was the same person that I met at the time of our courtship, as far as before he asked me, then I had no reservations to not say yeah. I mean, because his representative was great.
And you guys know we always talk about representatives and the actual person on the Lunch Talk Show. What we mean by representative is the person you first meet in the relationship, but that's normally a cover up for Mr. or Mrs. Cuckoo. That the actual person is. Okay, so okay, but yeah, ladies, we feel that. I mean, I feel that. Ladies, I really do. Hey, like you saying, the biological clock may be ticking at a certain age, or they showed no signs. So let me ask you this. Okay, now you guys are dating. Let's fast forward a little bit. You guys are doing great. I mean, he's proposed. You said yeah. So now, what is the first sign that you could give our listeners, our ladies out there, the first sign that you may have overlooked, but now you realize, click, that was a sign? But during that time, your mind is closed. You're not probably thinking like that. Or, you might say, nah, it's not that, or it's just a one-time thing. Okay, so fast forward, you guys are doing great in a relationship. What was the first sign that you may have thought about now that you didn't think about then that you should have took in consideration? The first sign.
The very first sign that I should have known that something was wrong and my red flag should have been waving big was when he started accusing me of my friends that I've had forever. And the guy that actually introduced me to him, he accused me of being with him, and he's gay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
The majority of my male friends are gay. So when he started accusing me of my male friends, like I said, the ones that he was accusing me were gay, because I wouldn't even introduce him to any of my straight friends because of how he acted with my gay friends. Once I put that engagement ring on my finger, it was kind of like now I got to change the people that I hang with. Or I got to change what I do on the weekends. The same stuff I was already doing when me and you were dating before. I mean, we were still dating. I mean, we were just engaged. But now all of a sudden, if I want to just go to Dexter's house, which that's my best friend, I don't mind saying his name. If I want to just go to his house, I got the third degree. But this is the person that introduced me to you.
Gotcha.
This is the person that I've been friends with for over, at that particular moment, I had been friends with him for over 15 years at that particular point. So, I mean, since my early 20s. So why would that now be a problem? I call this guy my brother. And you met him as my brother. So why would that be a problem? So that should have been red flag number one for me.
All right, got you guys. Okay, ladies, you heard it. Red flag number one. Start accusing. A lot of accusing going on. Okay, ladies, pay attention now. We the show is progressing, and we're trying to give you guys some information. Okay, that's the first sign, and it's coming from someone who experienced it, not hearsay, not no statistically proven study. This is a live human that's going through this. Accusing. Okay, when the accusing start. Okay, honey, we're going to fast forward a little further. Was there any verbal abuse? Prior to that or a little bit after that, verbal abuse, like demeaning, or excuse me, ladies, I know y'all don't like this term, but the BITCH word,
No.
did that ever come up?
No.
Or demeaning or degrading insults or anything like that type of verbal abuse, if anything like that?
No, he never talked to me crazy like that. He never did. He never called me out my name. He never said anything that would have made me not marry him, because he knew if he had called me a B prior to me saying I do, I would have. Mm-hmm. So no, I feel like he was very calculated when it came to how far he showed his crazy. You know what I'm saying? I think he was very calculated on how far he went with his antics before we actually got married. Because even still, when he would accuse me of my friends, mm-hmm. He wouldn't hold on to it too long, mm-hmm. Because I would tell him, I don't know if this marriage thing is a good idea if mm-hmm. you don't trust me mm-hmm. with people that that I'm not having any any dealings with. Mm-hmm. So when I would say that, then he would scale back. Mm-hmm. He would scale back off of that accusation. He would not continue with it, because then then I knew he was like, this is hindsight. I'm looking at this from 2020, mm-hmm. actually. Mm-hmm. I know if he had kept on at the path that he was going, to know we wouldn't have got married. And I think that was his end goal, was for us to get married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, okay, with that, ladies, okay. Like I said, I'm just speaking from outside looking in, doing a little due diligence and a little research. But when a lot of ladies think that, a lot of ladies think that when a guy shows jealousy, start accusing of stuff, the first thing they say, oh, he loved me. And you're hearing it from the horse's mouth, guys. That's the first sign that, it could be something wrong on down the line. So, just going a little further then, okay? The first thing was the accusatory statements or whatever. Okay, then what would you say was the second sign in your experience? The second sign when it got a little worse, or did he try to straighten up, or did it jump, since he got the ring on your finger, to controlling? Trying to control you, trying to be like, what we mean by controlling, like, you can't go here, you can't do this, you can't blah, 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 I'm finna be your husband or whatever. He was more easygoing when we were dating, but now he's like, he's trying to be your father, in a matter of speaking, the controlling aspect. Did that ever come in, or what was the second thing that actually triggered, could have triggered a thought in the ladies out here?
The next part of it, the next degree of it, was after the marriage, because like I said,
okay, so y'all made it through the engagement, with probably just that accusatory thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but the next step was in marriage.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Because like I said, I felt like when he kept doing that, when he was persistent about it, I felt like I told him, I don't know if this is a good idea, mm-hmm. And then like I said, he scaled back, mm-hmm. He stopped doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking, okay, he got to realize that this is not what's going on.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah,
mm-hmm. And then I'm not fooling around with my gay best friend. That's not happening. So I think at first in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he just let that go or whatever. And so we got married, and I'm gonna tell you, when we got married at the courthouse because nobody wanted to be present. Like, at this point, at this junction of the marriage, he had pissed my friends off so bad, accusing them, when he first started the accusation, that they didn't want to have anything to do with it, because they already was telling me, Starr, I know he say he don't feel that way, but I'm getting a bad vibe. I feel like he do still feel that way, even though he's saying, hey, I'm cool with your friends, I don't think you sleeping with your friends, and I was like, well, he's cool. He didn't invite y'all to the house, and we done hung out since then. And I really and truly thought it was squashed. And when we got married, didn't nobody pretty much show up other than my brother didn't want to come, but he came. My brother didn't want to come because he felt like it was too fast, and he got a bad vibe off of him as well. So he didn't want to come, but he came to support me. And, my ex's brother and his friend came, and that was the extent of our wedding party. Mm-hmm. It was only 3 and my son. Okay. It was just us and the notary that married us at the courthouse. Mm-hmm. And we got all dressed up for the whole shindig and everything. And the very second sign was on our actual honeymoon. Mm-mm. On our actual honeymoon. Mm-mm. Okay. That was the actual. That's
interesting. Okay, honeymoon. Okay,
on our actual honeymoon, we were on the beach, and I wanted to wear what really wasn't a bathing suit, because it was still a little chilly, because we got married in March, but it was kind of like a little shorts, and like a little top, and long as you was in the direct sun and it was like beaming you on the beach, I wasn't gonna be cold. And I had a cover up. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, he about went ballistic over what I was gonna wear. Like, you don't buy my clothes. I know I'm your wife, but you don't buy my clothes, and I'm not.
But honey,
I don't have my butt all out.
You my wife. I don't want you out there parading around.
No, but my butt wasn't out. I had on a cover up, and it wasn't even a 2-piece. It was kind of like wearing a tank top and shorts, basically. Because you know me, I ain't the type to just have everything out anyway. Mm-hmm. Even when we went to the beach, before we got married on the beach, my little bathing suit I had on then, with the little skirt made on to the bottom, mm-hmm. that type of thing, with another cover up over top of it, It was nothing showing, nothing, zero skin. Is basically wearing like I said, wearing like a tank top and a pair of shorts with a cover up, and he went ballistic about that. So,
okay. Let me let you keep going, because I may get my question answered. Okay, keep going.
So, because it was our honeymoon, I didn't want to, sit there and be miserable, because we had like 4-5 days there, so I didn't want to be miserable. So I was like, okay, I could just throw on. I mean, I didn't bring anything else to wear on the beach, so I was like, well, we just won't do that. We just walk. Mm-hmm. I put on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and we just walk. Mm-hmm. Then we was at the bar like that night, like the hotel that we was at, the resort that we was at had a bar inside of it, so. That night, I was like, okay, we're going to get dressed up. We're going to go downstairs to the bar and have us a couple drinks. Got downstairs. A guy was sitting at the bar already nursing his drink or whatever he had going on. And we sit at the bar, and he accused me of looking at the guy that was already sitting at the bar when we walked in. Mm-hmm. He accused me of looking at the guy. Mm. Like, I can't look at him. Like, not even look at him. Not. He's saying I looked at the guy. Yeah, I looked
at it a certain way you looked at him?
No, I just walked in the bar. We both walked in the bar. We both sat down. The guy was sitting at the bar. Mm-hmm. It's just like if I came and sat down next to you and you be like, and then, hey, can I get a drink? Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay. I mean, he's sitting right here. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to pretend like he wasn't there. But I didn't say anything to him. I didn't even look his way. I wasn't even in his grill or nothing. He said that I looked at him. Okay. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't even look at people.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that turned into a semi altercation because I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And then that escalated. And then I was like, well, let's just go back to the room. Mm-hmm. So we wound up just staying in the room.
Wow.
And of course, I was mad. So, because that whole day was ruined.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it started with the beach. It started then the night when we supposed to have had a great evening. That went sour. And that was day one.
See, you said it for kind of funny, but anyway. Oh, okay, wow. That was a hell of a honeymoon, huh? Yep. Okay, now that was another sign, ladies. Okay, it goes back to the accusatory, and I think it's a little jealousy and insecurity on his part. You know, if your wife or somebody can't even look, you know, what my wife was saying now, you know, you can't even look at somebody. So I think the controlling thing has started, you know. So guys, the accusatory, the controlling thing, these are signs. You got to keep an eye out for this stuff, especially in men, you know. So let's fast forward a little further. So, you know, now you're off your honeymoon, or you know you're home now. You're finna get ready to go on to your normal life. Now, did the accusatory and the controlling stuff continue to get worse? Or did any type of physical thing other than those two things start happening right off the bat after you in your normal life, off the honeymoon, all the bells and whistles are gone, now you living together, everyday life. So
okay, so when we got back, like I said, the little honeymoon was like 4 or 5 days or whatever. So when we got back, it was on Easter weekend that we got back. And so his family that had came from Lawrence had also met at his brother's house to give us a little thing, you know, I ain't gonna say a reception, but just wanted to show their support or whatever. So they had cooked big Easter dinner and all this type of stuff, and I met his sisters and some people that I had not met when we were dating, and there were some other people that showed up that I knew, went to school with, a whole bunch of people. I mean, it was a really nice turnout. I don't know who all was invited because it was a surprise for us. So when people showed up and was hugging on me, hey, congratulations, Starr. I'm so happy for y'all. You're a good girl. I'm glad you found somebody, blah, blah, blah. You know, he is looking at every person that hugged me. Wow. And congratulated us, not just me, but congratulated us, gave us their blessing. He's looking at every single person that touched me. Yeah, he looked at every single person that touched me. This is the 8th day of our marriage. He looked at every single person that touched me. Mm-hmm. After the dinner and everything, and he left out of the house where everybody else was at, and he walked outside, and everybody else was in the house. Mm-hmm. He walked outside in the backyard. So everybody like, where's your husband? Where's Joe Schmo at? And I said, I don't know. He should be in here with all of us. Mm-hmm. So I go to commence to find where he is, you know. And that's when I found him in the backyard, fuming, mad. I mean, like, pissed off to the highest of festivity, if that's a word. Mad. So I go and I'm like, what's wrong? Oh, you ain't nothing but a hoe. You out here, you got all these men and women hugging all on you.
Verbal abuse has started. Verbal abuse is starting. Okay.
This is the 8th day. Mm-hmm. You got all these men and women hugging all on you and touching all on my wife. And, you know, just kept emphasizing my wife, just touching and kissing and hugging all. I said, these are people that are congratulating us. They would touch you too if you wasn't out here acting crazy. Mm-hmm. They would be hugging you too if you wasn't mean mugging everybody that came up to us. Mm. And so he was like, well, I'm ready to go. And so I said, all right, okay, we can go home or whatever. So we wound up leaving. The dinner that was for us in Easter. Mm-hmm. And right before we left, his sister, I had only met her one time. His sister came up to me and she said, Starr, here's my number. If he ever does anything to you, do not hesitate to call the police and call me.
Ding, 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 ding. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
And you know what? I'm like, where were you at before I got married? Yeah. So I get to the house and I'm like, okay, we just got back. This is our first day back. We still got bags in the car. When we got back to Greenwood, they was calling us to come straight over there. So we hadn't even unpacked our bags. We still got on the same clothes that we rolled back home in, you know. So I'm thinking we're gonna go home, take a shower, you know, chill out. No. We argued all the way about it, all the way home. And then when we got home, he choked me out. Soon as we hit the door. Soon as I hit the door, wow. I had hands around my neck, choking the life out of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Choking the life out of me.
Wow.
And that was the 8th day of my marriage. I still had his handprint around my neck. Now, mind you, this is Easter Sunday. I supposed to go to work Monday. And I could not swallow. That's how bad he had choked me. So I went to the emergency room and he went with me. And the doctors asked me, you know, what was wrong, because I could barely talk at that point. And I told them that I don't know if I had strep throat or but my throat was really sore. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at the time, the doctors was looking at me like this was not consistent with a regular whole sore throat, you know, but they never really asked because he was there. He never left the room. Mm-hmm. He never left outside of the room of them talking to me. So I was scared at that point to even say anything to the doctors. I was in shock because I never would have thought, you know, that he would touch me, you know, actually put your hands on me and put your hands around my neck to try to kill me. I mean, I was gasping for air. Mm. And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And after we left the doctors, I told him that I think it was best that we separated. And this is our 8th day. This is the 9th day. Wow. This is the 9th day of our marriage. I told him I think we need to separate already.
9 days in.
I didn't even call the police. I told him, you know, you need to go back to your brother's house, or, you know, we got to figure something out, because I didn't sign up for this. I didn't. So he moved out. Harassing calls started. Mm-hmm. Who you got over there? What you doing? And I'm like, dude, having somebody over here is the last thing that I'm worried about or interested in. I'm trying to figure out why my husband tried to kill me, because he saw people hugging on me, congratulating us on getting married. And I'm trying to wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, and ladies, this is only 9 days in.
Yeah, and I had to call in to work 2 days out of that week. I didn't go to work that Monday or that Tuesday because I could barely talk. So I was like, you know, what in the world have I done? You know, I just went through so much that I couldn't even fathom what my next move was, because I just could not believe it. I was in total shock. And it's already about to be an hour in, so this is probably going to be a 2-part show.
Yeah, it's going to have to be because
it's going to be a 2-part show because I'm only at the 9th day.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm trying to pick your brain, guys.
Hey,
guys, this, like I was going to say, guys, we know this is a longer show than we normally do, but guys, this is a serious topic. It's a serious topic, guys. As you know by all these studies, I mean, you can look at it, guys. It's domestic. The violence is everywhere. It's destroying homes and communities, guys, especially in our, the so-called African American community. It's destroying homes, guys. So that's why we're doing this show. It's going to be a 2-part show, like you said, because we got so much to go to. I'm just at the tip of the questions. Guys, just please come back to the next show. Listen to this show. Come back to the next show because hopefully we can help at least one female to realize the signs. And on the next show, we'll cover exactly how did she rise up from this.
Yeah,
how did she come back to be the lovely lady she is now? I mean, how did it take a toll on her life? It's so much, guys, that we need to find out about domestic violence, how to recover from it, how to move on, how to get your strength back. So, guys, like she said, we're almost an hour in, and all these questions got to be and probably will be answered on the next show.
Yeah. Because like I said, I'm only at the 9th day, and we was together 8 months.
So
before
8 months, guys.
No, I said
we
was only together 8 months before I filed for divorce. So just know that I went through 8 months of living hell. And guys, with a real life monster.
Didn't show it in the beginning. She gave you some tips to look out for, ladies. The controlling thing starts. The accusatory things start. Those are signs, man. Those are real signs. Like I said, you might take it as, oh, he just jealous. He loves me. Jealousy is a form of love. I agree. It is, because if you don't care about a person, you can give a darn what they do. Jealousy is a little part of love. It is, but when you take that to the anger and aggression, when you take that to that level, it's more than love then. Because me, if I see my wife talking to a handsome guy with a buff body, I ain't gonna think she gonna do nothing, but I'm gonna look at her sideways. That nigga don't know what they're talking about, old lady. But it's not, I love my wife, I'm like, you better go ahead on
it. There's a difference when you're looking at that person in a way of saying, hey, what you doing talking to my wife?
Yeah, what you doing over there?
You directing that to that person, not your wife. Mm-hmm. And that was his thing. He didn't all the people that he accused me of, he never once confronted them.
Yeah.
He never once said anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
All his stuff went towards me.
Yeah.
Whether he didn't like somebody hugging me or not is one thing to say, hey, dude, get off my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be hugging my wife like that. That's like when we was in her house one day,
mm-hmm.
and one of my homeboys, Rod from where I worked at National Textiles, and I had my back to the door. And remember, he came up, he said, can I hug your beautiful wife? And you looking at him like, what the?
You're like, who is this nigga? And then when you said Rod, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
And you didn't never once say, you got niggas want to hug on you now?
Mm-hmm.
You did not direct that to me. And that's what he would do.
Okay.
He would direct anything that he had a problem with, which I didn't give him any problems. All these things was in his head, ladies and gentlemen that's listening to us out there in podcast world. These were in his head. No, I was not flirtatious. I'm not a flirtatious type of person. I'm a nice person. Will somebody take my niceness from being flirtatious? I doubt it, because I'm not.
Probably could.
No, I'm not, because I'm not giving you no more than I would at my job. I work in banking. I smile. I've smiled I worked in customer service 90% of my whole working career. So that's just in me to smile. It's in me to smile and to be nice.
You can't show your teeth to every guy you meet.
No,
the old saying.
But look,
really, some people take that as being flirty. Mm-hmm. You can't say that. The average person would say no, because you don't know that. Mm-hmm. People take things different ways. They may consider that as flirting. Some of you ladies and guys too, y'all he and the kikiing too much. Really. Let's be real. Nobody's, taking nobody's side. I'm just saying that flirtatious people. I mean, people do that, and they may not be doing it on purpose. Well, I would like for people to say, I'm not doing it on purpose. Don't say that this person is not looking at you, like you're flirting, because to this person, you might be. He might be thinking you just kikiing and he-heing too much. I mean, what's all that?
If I walk in the store, if we walk in the store and the store clerk is sitting right there, male or female, and that store clerk say, hey, how you doing? And I'm automatic to how I am. I smile and say, hey, how you doing? That set this dude off. That's what I'm talking about. Not a full-blown conversation. Not me sitting there just like you said, he and kikiing it up with somebody. I'm saying, if I speak to you, if you speak to me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to smile. If we in the Burger King drive-thru and I order my food and I pull up to the window and the lady say, hey, your total's this. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Give you my money or whatever. Get my food. Have a nice day. Drive off. Oh, you want them. What? Wow, I'm just being nice. I'm not flirting with anybody. I'm just being nice. That's like if you on the phone, when I'm on the phone with you, right? And you walk in the store, a store that you go into all the time, and you speak to the ladies that's in that store, and I hear you speaking to them. Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all having a good day? That could have been me on the same phone saying, oh, you must want to be with that B. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So no, I was nowhere near flirting. Being nice, just speaking to people was a fuel for him to think that, oh, you want that person. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't even speak and be nice. You can't even be nice to people in his eyes without you wanting them. Mm-hmm. No full blown conversation. Just, hey, how you doing? Give somebody their money, give you your money or whatever. We couldn't even go out. And then I'm go ahead and end the show. Speaking of that young lady that got shot in Applebee's, that could have been me in that same Applebee's, because we went out to eat while we was married. And the way the Applebee's is set up, not saying that he had a gun, but the way the Applebee's is set up, at our local Applebee's, you got that top level and you got that level down there on the floor by the bar, right? We were on the top level and they had TVs right there playing a basketball playoff game. It was basketball playoff game, so it was a lot of guys in there. They was looking at the game, they was getting their drink on, and we up here on the level. We ain't even by the bar. Now, it's a good game. My son is sitting right beside me, and he's sitting across from me in the booth. We're in a booth. The TV is right here to my left, but it's towards the bar. So all I'm doing, guys, is turn my head. All I did was turn my head towards the TV. I'm looking at the TV. This guy accused me of looking at the men that was sitting at the table beside us. I'm not even looking at them. I'm looking up at the TV that's at the bar. I'm not even looking at eye level. I'm looking up towards the TV at the game. And I got accused then of looking at the guys at the table beside us. And he told me then, if you don't get your M, F, and A up out this restaurant, I'm going to kick your A. And we had to leave before we could even order. In front of my son. I was taking my son out to eat. It didn't even have anything to do with him. I wanted to take my son out to eat. And we had to get up and leave. Wow.
Guys, we're going to, on that note, we're going to end the show. Because like we said, we're well over an hour now. Hour and 3 minutes, it looks like. Domestic violence in a relationship, guys, is what we're talking about. This is part 1. We're going to come back probably, next Friday with the part 2. And we're talking to my lovely wife, Starr Carter, and her experiences, personal experiences with domestic violence. So, guys, make sure you stay tuned. Come back to Lunch Talk with the Carters. Lunch Talk with Mike and Starr on the next show. And we're going to find out how this strong lady came up from all this. So, guys, make sure you tune in to the next show.
All right, guys. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. And as my husband said, if y'all want to stick around and hear the rest of my 8-month ordeal with my ex-husband. I hope y'all stick around because that part of the relationship was all bad, but there is as they say, a silver lining. There's a silver lining.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right.
Peace.